Inside the Ashvale Harbor Savings Docks branch, a single desk lamp held the marble floor in a green pool. Tomas Grell looked up from his audit ledger. A long shadow crossed the brass vault door. A gloved hand rose. An hour later, patrol red washed the fog-wet glass. Pre-mid-morning fog still clung to the dock's frontage. Two uniforms strung yellow tape across the brass-frame storm door as the gurney rolled onto the marble unlocked wheels. Etta Mole sat to one side with a porcelain cup gone cold beside her. Her hands stayed folded in her lap. Beyond the glass, the harbor fog had lifted from the pavement but not from the cargo cranes upriver. Knox stepped from the unmarked sedan, peacoat buttoned high, watch turned face inside. Leen followed in her navy blazer, breath misting in the late morning chill. She handed him the call sheet without speaking. The body had been at the desk since the first responders arrived at 07:38. Knox did not answer. He was already reading the harbor weather log printout taped to the cruiser glass. The dawn fog flag ringed in red. The teller floor smelled of cold marble and copper. Tomas Grell rested forward over his audit ledger, the open pages flecked with a small spray of dried blood. A casing lay on the floorboard near his right shoe. Behind the desk, the brass vault door caught a low slash of lobby light, its surface fogged at the lower edge with a clean horizontal sweep 10 inches across at chest height. Knox's left forefinger tapped once against his thumb. In the morgue at 0950, Hale slid the drawer out and rotated the left forearm. She lowered her glasses a half-inch and delivered the finding flat. Single small caliber round, contact to 1 inch, posterior parietal. Time of death 0640 to 0655. The wristwatch read 0731, but the crown had been pulled out a quarter turn. Knox studied the face. The watch was meant to be read. Speculation, she added, was his job. Captain Brennan's office at 10:15. She pressed her thumb into her palm before she spoke. Junior accountant dead at his desk in a docks branch. Audit pages on the public record. She wanted clean paper on every interview before close of day. Knox nodded. Leen had the warrant draft on her tablet. Brennan signed. Bring her a name, she added, not a headline. The last word landed a beat later than the rest. Rook Cho at the intake bench, gloved, the Ashvale PD polo dim under the fluorescence. If it was not in the bag, he muttered, it had not happened. He tagged the casing, the stopped wristwatch, a swab from the brass vault door, the audit ledger. He signed each chain of custody column and turned away mid-sentence to check the casing tray under the bench loop. Interview room 1. Mole's hands lay folded carefully on the laminate. She had clocked in at 0730, she said. 30 years were in her elbows. She had crossed the lobby at 0732 and seen Tomas at his desk. She had called the line. Leen noted the times. Then Mole added a smaller sentence, quieter, that he had been kind to her. He had brought her jasmine tea on Tuesdays. A case-file dossier card slid in over an establishing shot of Mole at her teller window earlier that week, the silver chain catching the chandelier, the 30-year service brooch above her mother-of-pearl pin. The card carried her name, her title, her relationship to Tomas, and the one-line alibi from the interview room. Knox watched the card settle. He did not speak. Suspect Etta Mole. Stated alibi. Clocked in at 7:30. Open lobby at 7:32. Found Tomas at his desk seconds later. Inferred opportunity. 6:35 to 7:05 fog window before lobby heaters cycled. Knox walked the vault corridor alone, the marble cold under his soles. The brass door caught a low slash of lobby light. The wipe sat at chest height, 10 inches across, the surrounding fog bloom undisturbed in a halo around it. He did not touch the brass. He measured the height against his own coat lapel and noted the placement of the smaller hand that had left it. His left forefinger tapped once against his thumb in a slow 3 count. Idris Penn sat in interview room 2 with both hands flat on the table. He had been at Anvil and Plate at the corner of Reach Street 0625 through 0705. Coffee and oats. The receipt was in his coat pocket. He had driven back and parked at 0715. The staff lot camera would have him. Leen noted the times. She slid the receipt across without comment. A case file dossier card slid in over Penn at his branch manager desk earlier that week, the brass branch manager pin catching the green desk lamp shade. The card carried his name, his title, his relationship to Tomas, and his one-line alibi. Knox studied the metadata column for a beat longer than the card itself. The pin caught the lamp twice. Tova Wren sat across from them, hands tight around her badge lanyard. Her daughter had been running a fever, she said. They had been at Mercy from 0550 to 0740. The intake card was in her bag. Her sister had borrowed the keycard at 0655 to fetch a satchel from the lockers, and had brought it back before opening. Leen noted the times. Wren's voice did not waver, but her grip did. A case file dossier card slid in over Wren at her teller window, the small enamel hummingbird at her collar, the bank issue cardigan buttoned against the morning. The card carried her name, her title, her relationship to Tomas, and her hospital-corroborated alibi. Knox watched it land and held the silence between his next breath and the next thought. Harlan Voss sat in his rust-brown corduroy with the courier satchel still at his hip. He had been at Civic Records, 0630 to 0720, filing returns. He had come to the branch as a courier at 0750, the patrol officer had told him. He had known Tomas since he interned. The man could read a ledger like a hymn. He looked down at his hands. He should have come earlier, he said. Mara Quinn caught Leen at the precinct lobby door, forest green coat, leather notebook open in her left palm. Audit at the docks branch. Junior accountant dead with 7 dormant boxes ringed in his pages. She asked whether the post-Carrick brief on harbor banking was being reopened. Leen smiled thinly and rebuffed her. Quinn walked back without looking over her shoulder, scribbling. Across the lobby, Knox watched the back of her green coat all the way out. The branch's central audit poll landed on Leen's tablet. Mole's keycard swipes for the morning read 0730 and 0732, no earlier touch on her card that day. Wren's read 0655, and again at 0725. Pens at 0718 in the staff lot. Leen ring-fenced Mole's row in red on the printout. Knox studied the screen without speaking, then tapped once against the table edge with his left forefinger. Suspect, Idris Penn. Stated alibi. Anvil and Plate Diner 625 to 705. Staff lot camera confirms 715 return. Inferred opportunity. None. Receipt and countercook witnessed full window. The Ashvale Port Authority weather log spooled from the thermal printer. Heavy fog had rolled into the dock's frontage at 0632 and held condensation grade through 0705. Branch side humidity above 92%. Lobby heaters had cycled at 0708. Knox unrolled the paper to its full length and pinned it under his coffee cup. He did not look up at Leen for a long moment. Knox returned to the branch alone, the lobby still echoing under the chandelier. Mole was at her teller window cataloging the day's open boxes. He asked her to tell him again about the morning, voice mild. Mole repeated the times, calm and careful. 0730 staff side, 0732 lobby, found him seconds later. Knox listened, eyes on her hands. He repeated the last 3 words back, flat. Found him seconds later. The chignon hand paused on the ledger card. Leen examined safe deposit box 217 in the vault corridor. The box pulled out 1 inch on its rail. A faint pry tool scratch crossed the side wall just above the lock set. She ringed the scratch on the evidence printout and noted the box registry pull on her tablet. The box belonged to Penn's elderly grandfather, last accessed 6 weeks ago. An arthritic hand had slipped on the key. She marked the row to clear in the morning. Late afternoon, the bullpen corkboard held 3 portrait cards pinned in a row under a green-shaded lamp. Above them, Knox tacked the brass vault door swab still and the harbor weather log printout. Below, the audit notebook page with 7 account numbers and 1 initial each. The corkboard read as a quiet inventory. Leen stood 1 pace behind him with the keycard log printout. Neither of them spoke. Knox sat with Mole's personnel file open on the precinct desk. 30 years at the branch, 2 service plaques. A citation from the 2019 Docks attempted robbery for keeping a calm lobby. The small mother-of-pearl pin she wore every day. Leen read aloud over his shoulder. She had signed in late twice in 3 decades. Both times bereavement. Leen exhaled. Nobody on this floor was going to call her, she said. Suspect, Tova Wren. Stated alibi. Mercy Pediatric Urgent Care 550 to 740 with daughter. Sister borrowed keycard 655. Inferred opportunity. None. Hospital intake card and sister statement corroborate. At Tomas Grell's branch desk inbox, Leen lifted a typed unsigned letter from a stack of mail. Stop the audit in block capital type. She bagged it. The letterhead read from a Docks bookkeeping firm shuttered in 2014. Knox said nothing. He was already comparing the typewriter font to a mental drawer. Leen logged the letter for evidence. It looked like a threat. Knox replied that only the next sentence was the test. Leen turned Tomas Grell's pocket audit notebook out onto her desk. A ringed page read Docks dormant boxes with 7 account numbers and 1 initial each in his small, careful black ink hand. EM 7 times in a column on the right. Leen set it down. Knox held the page close to the lamp. Mole's initials beside every flagged account, he said quietly. Every single one. A phone call to the morgue. Hale repeated the time of death window flat, 0640 to 0655 from rigor and lividity. The watch crown reset was amateur. Knox thanked her. He set the receiver down. and looked across the bullpen at the corkboard where the wristwatch evidence card now hung ringed in red ink. The watch had lied, Leen said. Knox replied that every minute Tomas could lie about, somebody had made him. Late evening, the bullpen empty except for the green-shaded lamp at Leen's desk. She set a paper cup of coffee at his elbow without asking. She did not speak for a moment. Then, quietly, almost to the lamp, she said his first name once. He turned the watch face out and back to face in on his left wrist. He did not look up. The silence held one beat longer than procedure needed. Morning of the second day, Knox returned to the branch with Leen behind him. The lobby smelled of fresh brewed coffee from the staff alcove, and the marble had been wiped down. Mole was gracious to a customer at the window. Penn signed paperwork at his desk. Wren set down a stack of box rental ledger cards. The branch performed normalcy. Knox walked past them all to the vault corridor. The brass door was cold today. No fog. Knox stood in front of the brass vault door alone. The wipe was still there from the morning of the killing, faint now under the lobby heat. He measured the height with a tape Leen handed through the corridor doorway. 42 inches off the floor. Chest height for a smaller hand. The wipe was 10 inches across, tapering at the edges where the palm had rolled off. The fog bloom around it was undisturbed. He did not touch the brass. A precinct lobby in late morning. Soft amber light through the front windows. A young woman in her 20s with dark wavy hair pulled back wore a forest green wool coat over a cream knit. She spoke briefly to the duty officer at the front desk. The duty officer nodded and paged upstairs. The visitor sat on the corridor bench with a tan cardstock folder on her lap, both hands resting flat on the cardboard. Knox stepped down the precinct staircase into the lobby. The young woman in the forest green coat rose from the corridor bench. She spoke briefly across the front desk and offered him the tan cardstock folder. Knox took it carefully. The seal was intact. His left wrist watch stopped for one full beat under his cuff. Soft amber window light caught the edge of the folder. The polished wood paneling held the silence between them. Leen pulled the staff lot security camera footage. Penn's gray sedan rolled into the lot at 07:15, timestamp clean. The anvil and plate counter cook signed a written statement at the precinct desk confirming Penn's full 30-minute breakfast window. The receipt cross-referenced the diner's till record. Leen ringed Penn's column on the suspect printout green and slid it under Knox's coffee cup. The clearance landed without ceremony. Leen read the Mercy pediatric intake card aloud. Wren's daughter, 4 years old, fever of 103, intake 0550, discharge 0740. Attending pediatrician notes corroborated. The phone records poll confirmed the 3-minute call between Wren and her sister at 0653. Wren's sister gave a written statement. Leen ringed Wren's column green on the printout. Another door closed quietly on the board. Leen pulled the Civic Records window log. Voss had filed third-party returns from 0630 to 0720, the records window clerk signing a statement. His courier arrival at the branch at 0750 matched the patrol officer's contact log. He carried no firearm in his record, no vault clearance. Leen ringed his column green. A fourth door closed. Captain Brennan's office, the envelope sealed on her desk between Knox and Leen. Renata Carrick had signed the chain of custody, Brennan read. The bank's box registry confirmed her father's signatory. She pressed her thumb into her palm and held the decision one full beat. Then she signed the warrant. Open it under chain of custody. Get Cho on the bench. Document everything. If this was what she thought it was, the case would not close where it stopped. Rook Cho at the intake bench, gloves on, navy polo dim under the bench fluorescent. Renata Carrick had signed the chain of custody column. He logged the unbroken bank seal, the box registry poll, and the warrant signed by Brennan. If it was not in the bag, he muttered, it had not happened. Then, quieter, this one would carry 2 seals. He bagged the envelope with double tape and waited for Knox's nod before sliding the loop across. Late afternoon at the branch, the lobby quiet. Knox stood in the vault corridor lobby side. He directed Leen's tablet camera to focus tight on the wipe at the lower brass panel, the fog bloom around it still faintly readable. 42 inches off the floor and 10 inches across, palm rolled at the right edge. He noticed the 4 small fingertip pressures along the upper line of the wipe, the smallest pressure at the inside. Bullpen corkboard in late lamplight. Mole's portrait card in the center. Penn's and Wren's now ringed in green. Around Mole the stopped wristwatch. The vault door fog wipe. The harbor weather log, the diner receipt. The key swipe fetched satchel note, the threat letter. The box 217 scratch. The audit notebook page with 7 EM initials. The board mapped the case as it stood. Knox did not speak. His left forefinger tapped once. The pendulum swings. The minute hand does not. At the intake bench, Rook broke the bank seal with Brennan watching from the door, and Leen at the camera tripod. Inside the manila lay a one-page handwritten letter, a pocket matchbook stamped with a silver IH monogram, and a small folded paper of cipher fragment in pencil. Rook lifted each item with tweezers and laid them on the white intake mat. Knox read the letter through twice in silence. Then he named only one thing aloud. The matchbook. Knox drew his own twin IH matchbook from the breast pocket of his peacoat and laid it on the intake mat next to the envelope's matchbook. The two sat identical on the white card under the bench loop. Same silver monogram press, same dark green linen cover, same unburned strikes. Leen did not say anything for a long moment. Rook signed the second seal column and turned away. The letter, unfolded under the bench loop, named the senior figure in Carrick's protection chain, the harbor redevelopment magnate Ambrose Vale. The page outlined, in 3 steady paragraphs, the mechanism, Vale's payments routed through trust accounts, Carrick's role as middleman, the dovetail with the dock's dormant boxes the audit had begun unfolding. The cipher fragment was keyed to a harbor ledger Tomas had not yet learned existed. Knox read slowly. Leen did not interrupt him. Minutes don't lie, people do. Day 3, late morning. Knox returned to the branch alone with the audit notebook bagged in his coat pocket. Mole was at her teller window. He waited at the front of the queue without speaking until she met his eyes. He placed the notebook page facing her on the marble counter. 7 boxes, he said quietly. 7 EM initials. Thomas had carried this in his jacket. The hand on the ledger card paused, then continued. A case-file dossier card slid in over pen at his manager desk, the brass branch manager pin catching the green desk lamp shade. The card held his name, his title, his alibi. The cleared rubber stamp landed across the metadata column with the diner receipt, and the staff lot camera frame ringed below as the verifying clue. The board lost a face. A case-file dossier card slid in over Ren at her teller window with a small enamel hummingbird at her collar. The card held her name, her title, her alibi. The cleared rubber stamp landed across the metadata column with the Mercy intake card, and her sister's signed statement ringed below as the verifying clue. 2 faces had now left the board. Knox stood at the bullpen window with the brass vault door photograph in his hand. The fog over the harbor was rolling in again on schedule for the late shift dusk. Leen set her tablet at his elbow. The branch corridor had been at condensation grade only between 0632 and 0705, she said. Anything wiped on that brass after 0708 would have left no trace at all. He did not answer. He turned his wristwatch face out, then back to face in. Knox stood at the precinct's training mock-up, a brass test panel rolled out from storage. Leen waited with a stopwatch. He placed his palm flat at chest height on the cool brass, rolled it 10 inches sideways and lifted. The pattern matched the branch's lower brass exactly. The fingertip pressures read smallest at the inside edge. Knox held his hand up beside the photograph. The hand that had left the wipe was smaller than his. The height was not the lie. The fog was the lie. The minute reconstruction laid out the 60-minute window from 0630 to 0730 across the bottom of the bullpen screen. Tick marks every 5 minutes. Fog rolling in at 0632 per the harbor log. Tomas at his desk by 0635 per his ringed entry timestamp. The killing window 0640 to 0655 from Hale. The wipe inside the fog condensation window before the lobby heaters cycled at 0708. Mole's claimed swipe at 0730 pulsed red on the line. The alibi could not account for a wipe that had to have been made an hour earlier. Mara Quinn at the precinct steps caught Knox on his way back from the branch. Forest green wool coat, leather notebook open. She had a tip on a second envelope, rumored at the same docks branch, she said. Different name, different box, same monogram on the pocket inside. She slid a slip of paper across with a box number and a name in her tight reporter's hand. She did not need a quote. She needed to know she should keep watching. Knox took the slip. He thanked her once. Bullpen corkboard, the green-shaded lamp casting all 5 red herring cards in a row. Wristwatch reset crown a quarter turn out, ringed and crossed. Manager's diner receipt with the staff lot camera frame, ringed and crossed. Vault clerk's key swipe with the sister's call log and Mercy intake, ringed and crossed. Threat letter with the public library practice typewriter font match, ringed and crossed. Box 217 scratch with the box registry pull, ringed and crossed. Each one pointed somewhere, then closed off. Leen set a fresh coffee at his elbow. Captain Brennan's office at 8:30. The brass vault door wipe still on the corkboard, the audit notebook page beside it. Brennan listened. She pressed her thumb into her palm one full beat, then signed the formal arrest authorization. Bring her in clean, she said. No press until counsel was on her. Knox nodded. Leen folded the warrant into her blazer pocket. Brennan added, without inflection, that he was doing this right. Late morning at the docks branch, the lobby quiet under the chandelier, Knox crossed the marble alone. He stopped at Mole's teller window. Mole set down her ledger card. He said her full name. Etta. The audit page had come home with him every Tuesday. He had waited for the right week. They had it now. Mole exhaled once, slowly. She closed the ledger. She did not look toward the lobby door. The branch back office, a small windowless room with a coat rack and a kettle. Mole sat in the desk chair, facing Knox and Leen. She did not ask for a lawyer. She did not stand. She had wanted to put this down for a long while, she said. The afternoon light through the doorway was gray. The kettle was silent on the side table. Leen recorded, the small red light on her department recorder steady. Knox laid the brass vault door photograph on the desk, the wipe at chest height, 10 inches across. Mole looked down at the photograph for a long moment. He set the harbor weather log printout beside it. The fog had held condensation grade until 0705, he said. The lobby heaters had not cycled until 0708. The wipe had been made before 0705. She had said she arrived at 0730. The wipe had been made by her, he said calmly. At 0640. Mole's hands rested on the desk in front of her. She did not move them. After a moment, she let out one long breath and her shoulders settled. Yes, she said. It had been her. She had wiped the brass before she left the corridor. She had not thought the fog would still be there. The afternoon light through the doorway held steady on her chignon, and the small mother-of-pearl pin at her lapel. Vans ederki willy bises. One the famasius. Exterfully forces and finds of leers to home. Alma, the real life is the ultimate god-tier game. Back office. Late afternoon. Knox walked the case in chronological order. The audit notebook with 7 dormant boxes and 7 EM initials. The motive. The harbor weather log putting fog at condensation grade from 0632 through 0705. The brass vault door wipe at chest height 10 inches across before the lobby heaters cycled. Pen cleared by the diner cook. Wren cleared by the Mercy intake and her sister's call. The wristwatch reset. The threat letter. Box 217 scratch. The satchel key swipe. Each ringed and crossed. The wipe was small-handed. Etta Mole was named. Mole spoke evenly across the desk. The 7 dormant boxes had started in 1996, she said. The fees had been small, rounding errors at first. After her husband died, they had paid for the apartment. Tomas had been kind. He had not needed to be kind. He had brought her jasmine tea on Tuesdays. She paused. She had waited. He had come in early Tuesday, the audit page open. She had been the only person who could let him in before opening. She had wanted to talk. Mole turned the silver chain of her glasses once between her thumb and forefinger. She was sorry, she said, to no one in particular. To Tomas, to the bank. She did not have a defense for the second after she reached. Knox did not interrupt. Leen set the recorder on stop and seal, then began typing the formal statement on her tablet. Mole signed each page after a careful read with the same blue ballpoint she used on box rental cards every morning of 30 years. 2 uniforms walked Mole from the back office through the lobby in soft cuffs. She did not lift her eyes from the marble floor. Penn stood at his desk with both hands flat on the blotter, watching. Wren at her teller window held a hand against her mouth. The chandelier kept the light steady on Mole's chignon as she crossed the lobby a final time. Outside the storm door, the unmarked sedan idled at the curb in the late afternoon harbor light. Captain Brennan signed the booking sheet at the front desk. She lifted her eyes to Knox once across the lobby. The ledger envelope was logged for the prosecutor in the morning, she said. The named figure was not on the booking sheet today. Not because they would not name him, because they would name him correctly. Knox nodded once. Leen set the recorder seal at the desk for chain of custody. Brennan added, almost privately, he would need a clean breath before tomorrow. Leen set her tablet down on Knox's desk. The booking sheet was final, she said. Mole's counsel had been notified. There was nothing else to do tonight. She watched him for a beat. Go home. He nodded once but did not move. After another moment, she pulled her coat off the hook, gave him one last small look, and let the bullpen door close softly behind her. The lamp at his desk was the only one still burning on the floor. After Leen had gone, Knox sat alone under the green-shaded lamp. The unfolded letter rested open on the blotter. Beside it lay 2 IH matchbooks, identical, his own and the one Carrick had left for his daughter. He turned his wristwatch face out, then back to face in. He set one matchbook on top of the other. Carrick's envelope, finally home. He did not put the letter away. He did not say the name aloud yet.